Okay, thanks everybody for waiting for a few moments. We just want to make sure everybody had a chance to join into the meeting. My name is Will Cooper, and I am a solutions developer, and I work for Infowise. And what I want to do today is talk to you about the Infowise Ultimate Forms product and toolset, and I hope to share with you some of the things that make this a very exciting and complete solution when it comes to developing forms in SharePoint. And what I'm going to present today really applies both for on-premise solutions or for Office 365. In my demo today, I'm going to show you the settings and forms using an Office 365 site. But all these concepts and all these tools and settings apply for the on-premise version as well. So just to give you a little bit of background, I act as a training coordinator, but I'm also a developer. And just like a lot of folks on this call, I imagine I wear a lot of hats, and I like that. I like a variety of things to work on. So I do development. I have a background doing a lot of things with Microsoft and web development, and I've also done teaching and training. I live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I have about 2.5 years working with the Infowise product, and I really do love this product. It's allowed me to develop solutions for customers working through the SharePoint interface, and it's taken me out of some of the frustration and headaches that I've had previously trying to develop custom solutions in SharePoint. And it's remarkable to me that I don't have to, for example, write a lot of custom code. Pretty much all of the functionality that I need I can access just working through the SharePoint interface and with the Infowise product. So what you're looking at here is just a simple SharePoint list that's been augmented with Infowise features and functionality. As you can tell, I am in an Office 365 site. And I should just say, before I forget, if you have any questions or comments during the presentation today, please use the chat function on the sidebar for the GoToWebinar. Or if you prefer, you're welcome to email questions or comments to support@infowisesolutions.com. So what I want to do first is just show you in general how you work with this tool set in Office 365. So I mentioned this just uses a basic SharePoint list which we add functionality to using Infowise. So what you would typically do is you want to open another tab, and I'll just show you, how you get to that. So if you go into the site contents, what you'll have after you've added this is the Infowise Ultimate Forms app. So really stands out, as you can tell. You can see the puzzle pieces right there, so easy to pick out. So if you just click on that, it takes you right to this main screen, and this is kind of your home for all the settings and configuration you're going to do with Infowise. A lot of good reference points here as well. If you look on the right column, you can see that there's generally a sequence in terms of how you do configuration and settings. So it tells you how to build the form, and then also training topics are listed on the right. And one thing that's nice in the Infowise site, we've added some tutorials and training which are there to help you out and really lead you through all these features. So some of the things that go over today, you may find that I'm kind of skimming through that, and I need to in the interest of time. But later when you're actually practicing with the product, you can go to these tutorials and get really in-depth information. And it also includes a lot of videos and things like that, so that you're not just reading through a wall of text. So something to take note of when you're first learning the product and you want to do some experimentation and try to learn the product by doing some hands-on work. So what I want to do first is just kind of show you, you know, how you would work with this. So when you go in the settings screen, the list selection is key. This is the context for the setting. So the drop-down is going to give you a list of all the lists in your site, and whichever settings you pick on these below menus are going to work from the context of that list that you selected. So pretty simple. You're always going to be coming back to this settings home screen. And before I get into all that, I just want to show you a few things. I've just set up some basic forms here. In the description for our presentation, we talked about how this product can help you know, cure your headache as far as some of the forms development that you might do. And in particular, what I like is the fact that you don't have to write any custom code or anything like that to get a customized interface. So what I'll do is just create a project real quick. I'm going to note a few things which I'll reference back when I'm reviewing some of the settings sections. One thing that's nice, you can insert your own custom HTML, or you can use the visual editor tool in case you want to customize the UI. Sometimes users need some kind of custom reference or something like that, so there may be more than fields that you have to put in. One thing that should stand out to you that's significant is the tabbed interface. And what really helps with the tabbed interface is two things. One, this allows you to have a project tool, for example, that has many fields. I'm sure that you guys are involved in situations where there's all kinds of information that needs to be updated. So it could be 50 or 60 fields. It's really not reasonable to you know, present all of that information to the user on a single form. So with Infowise, it's really easy. I'll show you. You can create the fields and then assign them to tabs. So really you can create as many tabs as necessary, and that simplifies things a bit. It makes it a more simple interface, and users can work through in steps. Also, you can control, for example, which information you show. For example, on a new form, you may just need some preliminary information. You don't need to ask them for all the fields on that. So all of that is configurable in Infowise, and I'll show you how that works in the settings here in just a minute. So we just have some basic information, so I'm just going to type in some dummy text for this. I like to put in foods for projects. It's always good to have a little fun with this, because SharePoint isn't always the most exciting thing in the world. So let's do this. And I'm just going to use my own name for these fields. And then down here is something a little bit unique. There's an Infowise signature field. I'm just going to put a scribble in there. There are different settings for that. You don't have to use this one. It just happens to be the kind I picked for this. That signature field can allow somebody to sign off on information if you want to. And it's kind of a neat feature. If the field that you're signing off changes, it would show invalid, but that's a unique Infowise feature. And then on here, typically in these tools, you might want to have a status, so you can update that. So by default, we've got that at draft, and then I'm going to enter a percentage for progress, and you'll see how that works a little bit. Below that, we've got an associated items field. This one's really important. I'll talk a little bit more about this later. But with Infowise, you have this ability to create what I think of as a pseudo database kind of functionality. You can create multiple lists and assign a child list to a parent list, so that you can have this many-to-one relationship, and that can even cascade down more than one level. So this is a really nice function. So for example, you may be trying to set up something that you might have done in an Access database, 5 years ago. You can have these related lists and think of them as a simple database. So this is to capture updates in the project, so it can do more than one of these. So I'm just going to put kickoff meeting here, and I'll say this is a progress update. So this is another list that's been mapped to our parent list. Okay, so I've added an item on there. You see this manager tab. I put this in here to demonstrate a key concept. With the tabs and with the fields, you can do permissioning using SharePoint security groups, which is nice. Usually you may have some information where you only want certain users to be able to view it, but not make updates or not be able to see it at all. I put this in here because later I'm going to show you that you have the ability to make it where this tab wouldn't be visible to users other than, say, a manager security group. Last one's a read-only field. It's history. There's nothing there at the moment, but I'm going to show you how we've dynamically set it up to post updates every time I enter information on this form. So I've saved that out. You can see the eggplant project. It is auto-assigned a project ID. That's another Infowise feature. You see an indicator, sort of a KPI. You can choose these icons. I'll show you that in a second. We see a progress bar, which is another visual indicator, and that changes dynamically based on what I put in for that number for the percentage. You can see we're at 35%. That child table that I mentioned, that child list, this is a nice feature on the dashboard. I can expand or collapse that, so you can imagine if there's many items in here. This is nice. Right from the dashboard I can make this update, so I don't actually have to open the parent item to do that. And then the last column that we see in here is the signature field. So those are some of the features. Really, we can create just about any kind of form that you would want. It can be very simple to something very expansive that may have 60 or 70 fields potentially, and be able to control what that interface is going to look like. So when you're working on this and when you practice, and I sure hope that you take the opportunity to get your own sandbox site in Office 365 or do the same thing in your on-premise SharePoint, you can get your list open, have a second tab, and then you can go into these settings. Just a note, if you're using the on-premise solution, what you would do is actually be able to access those settings directly in the list settings. It would be integrated into the user interface. Just a minor difference, just want to reiterate, all of these features are in both the Office 365 and on-premise solution, just some slight differences in the user interface. So at this point I'm going to actually walk through each of these settings and configurations area. I want to show you just how easy it is and how versatile it is in terms of all the different kinds of settings and how this is laid out. Just to repeat, you've got the description on the right. It tells you the general sequence of how you build these projects and forms. And then also there's a nice reference here, those training labs I mentioned earlier. Here's links that show you actually working examples and step-by-step on how to actually tap into and utilize these features. And it's really satisfying when you figure out how to add these tools to your toolbox as you get more and more knowledgeable on this product. So as it mentions in the upper right, the first thing you do is you create your fields, and then we're going to come in here and create tabs and map it to this. Very simple to do that. I can just type in a tab name and I just hit add and it shows up on this list. I can hit these arrows to change the sequence up and down for those tabs. So for each of the tabs, what I will do is map the fields in my SharePoint list to the tab. So you can see in that tab column association, just as you might expect, I select from one of the fields already in my SharePoint list, and I can just click the double arrow and it shows up on the right. So really just one by one I can go through each of these tabs and set the fields that I need. There is the fragment you saw earlier. Again, this is useful. It just gives you the extra flexibility. You might not normally need that, but you may have a requirement from somebody where they want a very particular thing, and so even though we typically don't get into custom code or that type of thing, it's nice to know you have the flexibility. You can insert a snippet of content right in that form wherever you need it, just to get it to look exactly how you need. So below that you see the tab permissions. As you probably would have encountered working with SharePoint, when you're dealing with security groups and permissions, generally it's good to start broad and become more granular as needed. And it would also be the case with Infowise. What they allow through the interface, I can either at the tab level define permissions, and basically I can do a security group. So that's what you see for the group. So I can create a rule here on the permission. So this would be significant, for example, for the manager tab. If I highlight that tab, I can say that it's hidden on the new edit and view forms for the other users, and then add in security for the manager. So you can do that. And I'll show you in another section, you can be more specific than that as needed. You can actually go to the field level and do this as well. There's also some other settings, just the overall look and feel. You can adjust that if you need to. Depending on what you're doing, you may want a more polished interface. You may want to even use your own CSS, and you have the ability to do that. Infowise includes several themes. You can try each of those and just see what those look like, and that just changes the font and the tab color scheme and that type of thing a little bit for you. The description location, you have some configuration there. You can make adjustments in the label location as well. So there is more functionality there in terms of what you can do, but just good to know that you can change the look and feel, and you can make some adjustments. It's really going to take you, way beyond the out-of-the-box SharePoint product. So that's how you do your tabs. You're going to start there. Here's the column permissions. You can see I've set a couple of those up already. I have this history section. It's not something the user updates, so I said that's going to be read. And then I have something else, which is the completion, and that's that progress bar. And really I'm just showing that on the dashboard, so I set that as hidden. So all you have to do in here is just go to the drop-down list. You can see it automatically shows me all the fields in my list. Just really easy to work with. And basically you can work with, there's three kinds. You either can hide or show it as a read-only or make it writable. And then you have the standard forms for SharePoint, the new, edit, and view forms. So you can set rules and apply for the situations that you need. And it's important to know kind of the secondary things. By default, the deny rule is going to be there, for you to block. So just really important to understand it and be aware of all the settings when you add those rules. Okay, so view permissions is something you're a little bit less likely to do, but this is apply if you want to have different views. I'm sure one thing we know in SharePoint, it's really great that you can have lots of different views of data, especially something that has a lot of information. So this lets you, by user group, kind of choose which view they're going to see. You may use a special view for the manager. We talked about that a second ago. So this can let you control what those users see on that main dashboard. Getting into some of the further sections, you can do custom column validation. When you think of validation, the obvious one is required fields, but really you can go far beyond that. And additionally, you can set conditions. And maybe I only need a field to be required at a certain stage in a project, and I have the ability to do that. I could say, for example, manager notes, must have a length, greater than 0, but I only want that to happen in a current when the status reaches a certain point. So I can go to the project status and I can say, you know, when it's in approval or that kind of thing. So that would make it so the validation is only going to apply in that situation. So normally you might not need that level of specific requirement, but again, it's just really nice to know when you get a specific requirement that you need in your tool, you have all that flexibility to do it right in the user interface. So that is most definitely a nice feature. One thing I'll also note, you can even go so far as to add regular expression codes in there, so you can get quite sophisticated with the validation, far beyond what you would have in SharePoint out of the box. Default values, that just refers to what shows up in the form on a first add. And then this section, really, I think it's maybe one of my favorite parts of Infowise. When you get into the actions section, this is workflow. Usually, if you were just working with SharePoint and its basic functionality, you might create a workflow in SharePoint Designer. And for the most part, that really necessitates some technical ability, and it can really be a challenge, especially when you're doing more extensive workflow. And this is part of the Infowise product where there is a great deal of functionality. So to this point, we really talked about really just the presentation of the forms and the field setup. But when you think of your business process, you think of the steps and you think of the things that need to take place, there is a great deal that you can do with these actions. So I'm not going to run through all of these, but you can explore this and you can see that there's quite a few actions and triggers that you can set up. I've worked on projects that use 40 to 50 of these different actions, so it can get quite sophisticated. But in a way, this is an interface where you're going to be able to handle something that you would otherwise be writing code and logic to do. You can do that all here from the interface. I'll show you one of these actions just to give you a little taste of how this is set up. So essentially what you're doing is creating a rule for when something would take place, and you define what will take place. So there's 4 tabs, and in the first one I'm going to indicate that this is for the new and edit form is when I want it to take place, but you can unselect or deselect those, or you can even set things to run on a timer. You may want like a nightly process or that type of thing, and you have the ability to do that. Advanced settings, you can do things such as you can make a button where the user is able to trigger the action, that type of thing. You can put a custom message for if there's some kind of problem, and even have it email you when that takes place. The third tab is really kind of the thing that happens. So in this case, I have something custom set up. I want to write values in that history log. And to do that, it's pretty simple. I just say that I've selected in the history field, I want to put in the code. And what you are able to do is insert the fields from the list. So I can just select that and click add value and that type of thing. And those fields show up in square brackets in there. So that one's a little bit more tricky just because I used a little bit of HTML, which is unusual. It's just something to make the user interface look a little bit nicer. And then in here, I'm just saying that I want it to apply to the current item. So that's what that ID equals ID is about. Wish I had more time to tell you a lot more about the actions. There's quite a lot in the training section on actions. If you want to explore that more, you can go into the Infowise site and go through some of the actions training. There are many things you can do there, and really when you think of the various actions and process that would be involved in a project, all of that can be modeled with the Infowise actions. Below that, alerts. This is the email alerts that go out. I have kind of a philosophy when it comes to doing email alerts in project tools. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with email alerts. With Infowise, you can configure and have all kinds of alerts go out in all kinds of situations. And when I was talking about the philosophy, what I think of in terms of alerts, I see this as something that augments your system. Typically, you want people to look in SharePoint to get the latest information. But there's kind of a strategy to doing this. But with alerts, really you can define any type of a situation. You saw that we have a status for the project. I can make an alert go out for a particular status. I can have it go to particular users. We can have different templates. One thing that's very nice, I can do color coding and things in the email. So just generic emails that you send back and forth in the office. Those are, usually just kind of black and white emails. But in our email templates, what we, what we can do is, get custom and have shading and box of thing, make it a little bit more visually appealing when the update goes out. So when you've added alerts in here, they show up in this list, and you could have many alerts, and you create templates here. So it just gives you a nice visual editor tool. So you can either just use that user interface, or if you want to, you can go in and do HTML if you want to. Just depends if you're interested in doing that type of thing. You see a list of the fields on the right, and it's really just as simple as clicking on a field, and you can add it in there, and you do that with the text that you type in. So really easy to use. Like the other section I was showing, can be as simple or as complicated as you need. So really great thing about Infowise. Get a lot of great functionality with very little knowledge of the product without having to do a lot of configuration. But if you need to create something really sophisticated, there's a lot of power and flexibility here, and you can define very specific situations for email rules. So that's the alert section. You saw the item ID, really easy to set up. You just map that to a field, and there's a pattern you put in there. What will happen is to just auto-generate an ID for you. Just a little bit nicer than SharePoint, which is just going to give you a simple integer. You can use whatever pattern you want. I typed in PROGJ period, and then you can put in like a seed value. So this started at 100. So that's very simple to do and a nice add to your project. And then you just kind of have a reference when you're corresponding with people about the projects. We won't get into import, but you do have the ability to do some dynamic connections with other systems and that type of thing. That would really be kind of a high-level technical challenge, but the capability is there. With the print and export, the print functionality allows you to do either simple templates, or you can get really sophisticated and do your own templates using HTML and custom formatting. And I've had experience using that functionality to develop, like special, 11 by 17 printouts on PDF. And the PDF output in particular I'm extremely impressed with. So not only you're able to dump out the field information, you can actually get it formatted into a table and have it look very polished. So you could, for example, take some existing report that somebody used, and they could hand it to you. And pretty much with determination and time, you could match that precisely. You could do that exact format with this tool. So when you're going through those settings, it'll give you a choice. You can either do the simple or advanced mode. Normally simple is okay. You can just go in there and you basically just select the fields you want in your printout, and then they're going to show up in your report. Then you can tweak some other settings. You might put your logo, company logo on the header, or something in the footer. So if you want something on the top and bottom, you have the ability to do that. And then you can even put in some of your own CSS if you want, that type of thing. So there's a couple other configuration settings, but what this is going to allow you to do is have a print in the context menu. So when I go into an advanced, I can go in here and actually get a PDF. So I can either have that emailed or sent to me, and it gives you a little preview of what that's going to look like. So definitely a lot of capability there if you need it. So kind of coming down towards the bottom of these web part settings, there's many different types of charts that you can do. And this is a nice way to add some visual content. One thing I find in SharePoint a lot is you have all these lists of information, and one page looks very much like another in SharePoint. So adding a chart into your page can make it 10 times more appealing. So that's something you can experiment with. A chart that you might have done in Excel, and now you have an opportunity to connect it with a dynamic SharePoint list and have it automatically update. So you can look in that training. There's demos of that. It'll show you how to build those charts. That would be a great part of a practice project if you want to start to look at this product. The event calendar, not going to look at that right at the moment. This is something that really extends the SharePoint calendar functionality where you can get a very customized look, but we're not going to get into that just today. So the other one that was very significant to me, the associated items. This is how you're going to set up that parent-child relationship on fields. In my case, I wanted to do that for the project updates. So when you're doing that, basically you have an associated items field in the parent list, and it lets you map that to your other list that you set up. So that is really some key functionality there to create that child-parent relationship. There's the signature field. Again, pretty easy to set up there. You just decide what kind of signature you want. Those color choice and indicator fields are nice. These are the visual components that help make your user interface look a lot better. So definitely, you want to experiment with those. I especially like the icons that you can pick. Infowise gives you a series of icons, and you can choose from that in the interface to indicate status, for example. Or alternatively, you can load in your own icon set, and we have a section in training which tells you how to do that. So really, you could have whatever you want, but it makes it so much more appealing to look at this information. And what I hear all the time when I'm working with customers is the need for visual management, and people want to see things that are visual. They don't want to just see lists of information. So these status fields ends up being really important in these KPI indicators. So in Infowise, you can do that with color choice or that progress bar indicator that I showed you. So definitely a key part of the recipe there. So that's really the main sections. There's some that I skipped past, but I just want to offer some ideas for those of you who are curious about this product and you think that you might want to try it a little bit. What I might suggest to you is starting a sandbox to start experimenting with this a little bit and trying this out. Really, these are individual components. You saw that in the app there's the puzzle pieces, and that's really what we have, is we have a suite of components that comprise the whole product. But in combination, they offer a comprehensive tool set that allowed you to build really great solutions. So a first step, whether it's for an on-premise SharePoint or for Office 365, would be to go ahead and get a sandbox going. So you do have the ability to do a trial product, and then you also have resources that are going to help you to get going with that. So what I suggest to you is to look in the training section and work in the sequence that's shown in the right here. The first thing to do would just be to do the tabbed interface, and I can promise you it's very straightforward and easy to get to that point. We've got a great product team. Really love to help new users getting into this product and starting to find out, some of the exciting functionality that's there. So I'm going to wrap up our demo at this point. I really appreciate the time of everybody jumping on the call today just to take a look at some of this functionality. I really love the product. It really gives you an ability that doesn't otherwise exist with SharePoint, and you have this ability, to very compelling value for the product in terms of the investment that's needed. And as a developer, I can promise you in the last couple of years, I've been able to build projects and functionality very quickly that otherwise would have taken me much more time to develop if I was writing custom code and that type of thing. So even those of you who are not programmers can build intricate logic and custom solutions without any of that programming background. So please try it out, and that's really where you're going to start to have fun with it. And I hope I can hear from you. Please post back to us on email or blog or that type of thing. Thank you again. We'll go ahead and stay on. We'll leave the chat open for a while, so we won't close down for those of you who want to send us questions. And as I said, if you want to contact us after our call today, you can just reach out to us. You can send an email to support@infowisesolutions.com. And thank you very much. And just to note, we'll be doing another demo pretty much each month. We'll continue along with these, so please check your emails, and love to have you again on another session. So thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day, and look forward to talking to you guys again soon as you're working on your Ultimate Forms projects. Thank you.